As lead is fully recyclable, the lead that waterproofs buildings and roofs and which lasts for hundreds of years is manufactured from lead waste products such as car or industrial batteries, which might previously have been used as landfill. Old batteries are delivered on pallets and dumped into a large battery store. A large mechanical grab then lifts and crushes the batteries, which allows the acid within them to drain out into the storage area, with the acid then being removed and then reused in the manufacture of washing powder. The batteries are placed into a vibrating hopper and then onto a conveyor belt where waste debris such as packaging is removed. The batteries are loaded from the conveyor belt into a large crusher, which initially breaks up the batteries and their casings, washing all the components so that they're safe, and then segregates them into the different plastics, lead metals and lead paste. The light and heavy plastics are separated and stored before being sent for recycling to local plastics companies. The lead metals and lead paste are then stored ready for loading into the furnace. Different specifications of lead require different mixes to be created with the basic components of lead metals and lead paste. The components are then loaded into the charging spoon and then remotely loaded into the brick-lined furnace. The furnace remains hot at all times during production and heats up the components to a temperature of 900 to 1000 degrees centigrade using an oxygas burner, and a chemical reaction occurs which creates lead. The furnace is then tapped and the lead poured out into 2 ladles where it is stored. Samples of the lead are also taken to test for quality and impurities. As the lead cools, the impurities float to the surface and are removed, crushed and recycled once again. The lead in the ladle is then poured into a crucible and heated to 600 degrees centigrade and refined with any impurities oxidized. Throughout this process, the lead is checked and rechecked so that it meets the specification. The liquid lead is then pumped into steel molds. Residual impurities and dross within the lead rises to the surface due to the density of the lead and is then removed from the surface of the liquid lead by hand. This debris is also recycled, with any lead removed and placed back into the furnace. The 8.4-ton slabs are then cooled to a temperature of 150 degrees centigrade, which creates a crack around the edge of the mould, allowing it to be lifted and transported into a storage area. The slab is then moved to the rolling mill and is warmed to enable the lead to be rolled more easily. The slab is then rolled back and forward through the rolling mill and sprayed with a mix of water and a soluble oil to help the rolling process. The number of passes back and forward to roll the lead depends upon the code of lead being rolled. It's checked on an ongoing basis with a manual and digital micrometer, with the operator adjusting the process to suit. Once it reaches a certain thickness, it is fixed into spindles on the cutting table, which also applies tension as it is being rolled, which helps it to reach the right thickness. The roll is then lifted and placed onto the cutting table. The lead is then cut to the correct length and width to meet the client's requirements. The code of lead manufactured is identified by the BS color coding system, green being code 3, blue is code 4, red is code 5, black is code 6, white 7 and orange 8. It's important to note that manufacturers can produce lead to other thicknesses. During all stages of the rolling process, Any waste lead that is either damaged or is an offcut is recycled back into the recycling kettle. The finished rolls are lifted and stored on both steel and wooden pallets, and then weighed, identified and sealed with polythene before being stacked. The pallets are then loaded onto articulated lorries, which then leave the mill bound for stockists. Lead sheet is one of a number of traditional materials that is used in the UK. It's flexible, easy to work with, extremely durable, and has eco-credentials second to none. So why would you use anything else?